Good afternoon. Today I would like us to speak about different but very similar cultures of Siberian peoples and of Native Americans or the peoples of North America. So, first of all, there have been a lot of research and we know that there are some genetic connections between the peoples who live on the territory of Russia, and they're called, the full name is Indigenous Small Numbered Peoples of the North, Siberia and the Far East of Russia, and the people who came from that part through the Bering Land Bridge, which was there a long time ago. So this was a land connection between what is Asia now and North America. So this was covered with ice, and people traveled from our territory to the territory of North America. And those people who traveled there became the first Indians, the first American Indians. So first they arrived from the northern part, and then they formed the first culture which was there, which was called Clovis culture, and then they distributed in different groups, first all over the territory of North America and then to the south. And then, so we can see that all these peoples are connected between themselves, not only genetically, but also in the language. So, for example, today we have two groups of languages. Dene, so, or Na-Dene. This is in North America. Well, as you can understand, this map is a bit turned here. So several different groups, Athabascan groups of American Indians who live in North America speak this language. And this is an old map. And here, along the Yenisei River, we had the Yeniseian group of languages. And also scientists have proved that this connection is very strong, and it also confirms that American Indians had people from the territory of Siberia as their ancestors. But we will see a lot more connections today. So if we look at the population, if we speak about North America first, you can see that prior to colonization, there were about 500 tribes numbering up to 5 million people, but this is of course not 100% confirmed because these are only the estimates. But nowadays, today, we have more than 5 million American Indians living in the USA and almost 5 million people living in Canada. And if we take both Americas, so the total number will be 62 million people, so this is a lot. And if we compare with the data which we had, for example, at the beginning of the 20th century, this number is growing. So first there were a lot of them, then when colonization started, a lot were extinct, but gradually they are coming back. A similar situation we have in Russia. So Russian colonization came later, and we started counting those peoples only after 1920s. And in 1920s, there were about 26 peoples. Nowadays, we have around 45. So in 2009, there were about 40, and nowadays we have around 45 native peoples. And as I said, indigenous small numbered peoples of the North, Siberia and the Far East. And why small number? Because these groups have not more than 50,000 members. Basically, these are endangered groups because some of them have just a few members. But still, as I said, the tendency is quite positive, and luckily, people are growing, some of them at least, are growing in numbers. So now let's look at some of the maps. If we look at the map of North America, we will see here in different color, we see different cultural regions. Cultural regions, it's not just one tribe, it combines several different tribes, and they usually occupy some big part of the whole continent. And if we speak about those languages, which I showed on the previous map, they are here and around here. So, because some of the tribes from this family that later traveled to the south and became what are the Navajos today. So you can see, again, not all the tribes are mentioned here. You can just see how many names are there, and this is only a small part because there are very many American Indian tribes. And let's have a look at the Russian expansion. So this, in fact, what is called colonization of Siberia started in the 16th century. When did the colonization of America start? Late 15th century. Well, in fact, it started also in the 16th, but the arrival of Columbus is considered like borderline. Mm-hmm. And when did it happen? Who remembers?
1492.
Yes, very good. So in Russia, this is often connected, or usually connected, with the name of Yermak, who started his trips to Siberia. And then gradually we also colonized those peoples. Well, I don't plan to speak about politics today, just a small remark that the Russian colonization was a bit more peaceful than the one of the American continent, though of course we also had both friendly tribes or nations and some hostile ones, and we also had some conflicts as well. This is natural. And we also imposed taxes on them. So in any situation, colonization is not good. But at least we were trying not to oppress their cultures and their languages. That's why, in my opinion, American Indians suffered a bit more. So this is a more present-day map. And again, if we look at all those colored places, we will see that those indigenous nations occupy quite a big part of Russia. Well, of course, it doesn't mean that on those territories only native peoples live, or only indigenous tribes live, right? But this is the territory where they are distributed. Now, let's have a look at some of the similarities between them. There are very many, and today I'm going to speak only about a few of them. So first, let's have a look at some lodgings, some of the constructions. Which side, left or right, is American Indian? What do you think?
Left.
Yes, the left one. So this is the teepee, the classical, I'm sure you have seen it many times in Hollywood movies, and it already became like a symbol of Native Americans because some people mistakenly call it a wigwam. It's not a wigwam, it's a teepee, it's called a teepee, and some teepees are painted with different symbols from American Indian mythology, some are just blank, but the main idea of the construction, they use several poles which can easily be found anywhere where any trees grow. Usually these poles number any number which can be divided into 3 or 4, which are sacred numbers for American Indians. And what is put around is buffalo skin. Again, originally, of course, today this can be something else. But this is the traditional house, if we may call it a house, of the Plains Indians, of the territory of the Great Plains. This is around the central part of North America. This is very convenient because you can change your camp very easily. So if you need, you just unzip it, wrap it, put it on your back. You don't need the poles, you can find them in a different place, and you just move to a new place. So it's quite light, it doesn't occupy too much space, and it's very easy to assemble again. So very convenient. But if we look at the construction of a chum, for example, with the Yokuts, you can see, or with the Nens people, you can see that this is very, very similar. The only probably difference is that they use more fur here because it's colder in that place, and here it's usually just skin. Almost the same. Then, this is the wigwam. This is what it should look like, classically. And wigwams are usually made also of some carcass made of, well, not exactly, something like logs or some big poles. And then this is carved usually with bark, but sometimes it can also be carved with some skins on top and so on. So as it's said here, it's mostly met in Eastern USA and Canada. And Yaranga, you can see, again, very similar. Then, another pair. This construction is used by only one tribe. And this is exactly the one from the Dene language family, which is connected to the Yenisei language family. So this is called hogan. And hogan is usually made of logs put together. This is something between like an earth house or an earth pit and a house. So from the house we have the logs, but from the earth pit we have this either some clay or soil put on top. And if you look at one of the types of the houses of the Yakuts, which is called in Russian balagan. So balagan is not only having fun, it's also a type of a building, right? You will see this is also very similar. Again, some details can be a bit different, but the main idea is very similar. And my favorite, I really love the igloos. They look very beautiful, especially at night when there is fire inside and it glows from the inside. And this is what is called quincy. In fact, igloo is used both in North America and in the Russian North, because this is mostly used by the Inuit, and Inuit is the name of that the Eskimo people use for themselves. So this is the same as the Eskimo. And two kinds of nations, of peoples, the Inuit and the Aleuts, live both on the territory of North America and in our Siberia. So that's why we have a lot of similarities. So that's why the igloo is used on both continents, and in North America we can also meet these types of houses called quincy. The main difference is this one, well, to me it looks a bit like when a bear is going to sleep and it makes a house for itself. So this is, just imagine a big snowdrift, and then you clean it inside, cut into it, and then this becomes something like a house. While an igloo is made with blocks of pressed, it's almost ice, it's snow also, but it's pressed. And that's why it's very easy to have fire there inside, because when fire burns, it also warms from the inside, and it makes all the structure solid. So the walls become solid and connected. And this is just about some of the houses, because there are some more also connections. And let's have a look at something else. We all know about canoes, of course. So here are just the main the main types of canoes. So simple dugout canoe, which is made of log, just digging it out. Then Northwest Coast dugout canoes, also painted with the classical motifs of their mythology. Then Ojibwe birch bark canoe, so made of birch bark. And if you know, we also make a lot of things from birch bark. Penobscot birch bark canoe also, and plank canoe, so different types. And here are different types of the canoes or boats also used by the Russian native peoples of Siberia and the Far East. So you can see, again, a lot of similar things. Then hunting rituals. So if we speak more about not so much material, but also spiritual culture, traditional peoples have specific hunting rituals. And one of the main ideas is, we're going to speak a bit about it in a second, about their religious beliefs, but the main idea is an animal allows himself to be killed. So it's not that you're a good hunter, you are really lucky, you just go and find some animal, some game and kill it. So you need to be a really good hunter spiritually also, and make some special prayers, make some special rituals to call that animal so that it allows to kill itself. And then after you kill the animal, you have to make another ritual to apologize to it and to thank it so that its spirit is not offended, and then other species of the same animal can also come back. And very, very similar rituals are met again on both continents. Then, another very nice, very interesting and very pleasant tradition, banter or teasing, and this is also met among both nations, or both groups of nations. So we see American Indians laughing, we see our northern people laughing, and what are they laughing at? It's not just jokes. Of course, they have their own humor, that's natural, but it's not just jokes. There is a tradition of teasing some specific kinds of people. These can be different ones. So, for example, if you are a newcomer, let's say you are an anthropologist who wants to study some nation, and you want to go and live with them for some time, and you want to get a lot of information from them, the first attitude to you will be suspicion, because they don't know you, and you are not part of their society, so that's why it's suspicious. And they will test you. Teasing is one of the way of testing a person. So they will make some pranks, they will make some maybe not very comfortable jokes at you, and see how you react to that. If you understand the jokes, if you also laugh at those jokes, if you can also make a joke in return, then you win. And gradually you also win their respect and become, well, of course not part of the tribe, but at least a friend. And as I said, this is very similar on both continents. Another way of banter is when this is done over, for example, younger members of the tribe, or if some person from the tribe misbehaves or does something which is not approved by the general group, or something else. So instead of, for example, reprimanding him, or instead of saying that he was wrong, there will be a nice but very pointed joke. And again, the idea is to react to it normally, not to get offended, not to just say, oh, you're making such bad jokes about me, you are bad people, but reacting adequately. So now let's speak a bit about religion and some beliefs. You probably have seen totem poles. These are from the northwestern region of North America, cultural region, I mean. And they are very popular with the tribes such as the Tlingit, the Haida, and some others there. And the totem poles represent different animals here. Sometimes it can be a bird, sometimes, well, we don't have here, but it can also be some insect, it can be even a fish. So any kind of a living being, which is believed to be long ago the ancestor of either the whole nation, the whole tribe, or some particular family, or some clan. Because many of those tribes have division into clans. For example, the bear clan, the wolf clan, the moose clan, and so on. So this belief absolutely similarly lives on both continents. So totemism. So a totem is this animal which is believed to be the founder of this clan. And then animism, from the word anima, which means soul. This is the belief that every creature, everything, basically everything, even what we believe is not alive, like for example a stone or a tree, that it has a soul, and thus this is animated. And from this belief goes the attitude to nature, the attitude to... That's also probably why these peoples are called the most ecologically friendly ones, because they don't take more than they need from nature. They don't kill more animals than they need for food and for some other things. They don't cut all the trees around, so they are very, very gentle and attentive about nature, because everything is alive. If you misbehave towards something, then you should expect the same back. And animism is, again, in Siberia and in North America, this is still very strong. Then shamanism. You probably have heard that the word itself, shamanism, came from our Siberian peoples. So it originated from there. But now we call a shaman any person who has some certain practices, shamanic practices, no matter on which continent this is. So shamans, even if you look at, well, this one is a painting, of course, but this is a picture. This is a Siberian shaman, and this is Native American one, and this is some ritual clothes and a drum of a Siberian shaman also. Maybe the major difference only is in the name, because in North America they are not called shamans, they are called medicine men. And medicine, it's not about medicine that we like take a pill or something like that. The word medicine for American Indians means some kind of power, some kind of supernatural power which the person has, and which gives him some... this is like a gift. So it helps you heal people, it helps you see the future, it helps you just do different things.
It's exactly the same with African people also.
Yes. So there are also some bad ones, like white and black magic, right? And they are called sorcerers, or in Russian, kolduny. They are not very much liked. But of course, medicine men have a lot of respect of the tribe, because they help a lot, they are very much needed in difficult situations, no matter if this is for some particular person or if this is for the whole nation. And shamans in Siberia. By the way, we have still have, for those who are interested, you may probably see even on the internet, there are some special gatherings of our shamans from the far east, from the north, yes, Siberia and the far east. And they gather, they have their meetings, they have their conventions, they share experience, because not so many of them are left. Of course, there are a lot of fake ones today, but we're speaking about the real ones. Then taboo, of course. This is very important. Taboo can be about anything. It can be about not eating some particular things. It can be not doing some particular actions. Or it can be about not speaking for some period of time. Different things. And poor shamans are the ones who have the most of taboos. Just not to lose their supernatural power, they have to observe so many taboos that sometimes every step is a taboo. The worst part is, in many cases, shamans can help other people, they can hardly help themselves and their own families. And for example, we had a lot of research not so long ago, well, quite a few years ago, but still, about some Nganasan shamans. Nganasan are the people who live in the Russian north. And their relatives often died. They lost their own children. They could not do anything about this. They could not foresee it. They could not prevent it. They could not help them because their power is directed towards helping others, not themselves. So you see, when you have a gift, it's not always a gift for you. Let's look at some of the things that people make, some of the beautiful things we can see today. And again, here I just put just a few because there are many more. So these pictures represent North America. Bone carving was very popular all along the territory, and different kinds of bone were used. So this could be, for example, some horn. This could be bones of, let's say, if it's in the north, of walrus, for example, or in some situations it could be even human bones. But just look at these pictures and compare to Siberian ones. These are the Yakut ones, and these are the Chukchi ones. So the Chukchi ones are considered the most artistic, the best ones, and they are the most valued in the world. Can you guess what this is? It's not exactly a bone.
Teeth.
Hmm?
Teeth.
It's not teeth.
Maybe the mammoths. Horn.
Yes.
Tusks.
Yes, exactly. This is from the mammoth, and we have a lot of them in that region, of course. So that's why they can do it. But they are probably
deep frozen.
Yes, deep frozen, and they are among the few people who are allowed to use them. And of course, it makes the price even higher for that. Then wood carving. Of course, the totem poles in the north. These two are the more modern creations by a Canadian sculptor who has some origin, also Native American, Bill Reed. And as you probably can understand by the subjects here and here, these are the ones from Siberia. So this was also common, and again very similar. Beadwork is usually associated with American Indians, and they can use it in anything, in clothes, handbags, special jewelry, some ritual objects, and so on, so on, so on. They did not invent it, of course. Beads, which is biser in Russian, were brought by the Europeans long, long ago, many centuries ago, but American Indians liked them so much that they started using them. And they became really very perfect in this, as you can see. And it looks just quite simple maybe, but it takes many weeks, if not months. For example, can you imagine to make a whole shirt all covered with all those tiny, tiny beads? But our peoples also use a lot. So this is, for example, special woman's neck decoration, or this is a gown which is also covered with some festive gown for some special occasions, which is also covered with beadwork, or even on those winter boots as well. And a few words about the parallel motifs in mythology. The last thing I'd like to speak about today. We have those parallel motifs all around the world. And they're called parallel because it's not exactly that we have the same myth around, but we have the idea. Maybe the best example would be about the Great Flood, which is met almost with any nation on all the continents. And it was first mentioned in by the Sumerians long before the Bible and other sources. And then it was also mentioned in different books, like we know, for example, holy books like the Bible and others. And this is also mentioned in different myths. But it's not only about the flood. There are a lot of different motifs like that. And I just came here today from a different conference on Native Americans. of both Americas. And I was speaking there about the parallel motives about eschatology, so the ideas of the end of the world, which are also commonly met on the territory of North America. Let's have a look at some of the motives. As you probably know, also when traditional people live on some territory, this territory is sacred for them. And everything or anyone who lives there is also important. That's why in mythologies of different peoples we can usually meet some animals, birds, fish sometimes, which are normal for this territory, which usually live there. And Raven is the most common trickster figure which is met in Siberia and also in the northern part of North America. And it's not just a figure of mythology, it's also a trickster figure. And trickster is such a hero, such a character, which is very dubious. On the one hand, this is good, on the other one, this is bad. On the one hand, it wishes for something good for himself and something bad for the people, but sometimes it turns out the other way around. Just because he wants to play tricks, he wants to fool everyone. That's why many times, as we say, "Не рой яму другому," so many times he gets himself into that hole. And he also brings a lot of good things to people, like some inventions or light. He can steal the light first or steal the sun first, but then occasionally make it out and then people get it. Or he is also the one who gave death to people, which could be considered bad, but at the same time this is good, because if people did not die, we would not have any more space for new people. So we would, yes,
Difficult to live.
right. The earth would have been overpopulated long ago. So Raven is a very important figure in both mythologies. The same as a bear. And by the way, when those people speak about any kind of animal, as I said, which is connected with animism, they are not just alive, but they are also people. So even
Bear is important for Russia. And they are walking along the streets.
yes, of course, but this is really important, because when we read American Indian myths, we can often meet such phrases as the bear people, the ant people, even the ant. Yes, or the wolf people, any kind of even insect, they are a people. Because this is believed that long ago, at the beginning of the world, people and animals could understand the languages of each other. They lived like relatives, and each of them were a separate people. But after some time, mostly because people started to be not so good, people lost this ability to understand the language of the animals, as well as the animals stopped to understand the people. And they separated, and people started to hunt animals, so they divided more and more. And now we're hardly anyhow connected. But bear is a very special animal, and this is believed to be special for several reasons. First of all, it's very often compared to a human being, because like us, he can stand on 2 feet, and he can walk like a human. Second, usually he doesn't kill normally. Well, he can fish, of course, so he can kill fish, but he doesn't kill other animals or humans, well, unless, of course, he's wounded or something is wrong with it. So in this, he is also respected as the one who has some of this medicine power. And in some myths, the bear is the one who can pass this as a helping spirit, who can pass this medicine power to some shaman, to some medicine man, who helps people a lot. And for example, the Khanty and the Mansi have special bear festival And this is a special festival to celebrate how good the bear is, which happens annually. And it has the figure of the bear itself, and it lasts for several days. And some similar, well, maybe this is the most famous festival, but some similar ones are also met in North America. But as I said, these are just two figures. There are many more, but maybe these are the most commonly met in both mythologies. So this is a very short overview, a very brief overview. And
We still have 5 minutes.
yes, but I still have some questions. I hope to check how well you understood it and how well you understand the connections between them, between those peoples and continents. That's why I would like to ask you some of these questions. So, who remembers when did the migration to North America happen? Approximately.
14,000 years ago.
Yes, wonderful, exactly. Good. So, which colonization began earlier, that of North America or that of Siberia?
Well, which colonization of Siberia, the grammar one or the
Which
one
began earlier? Which started earlier? Began, sorry.
Earlier, of course, earlier started this colonization of Siberia because in the very beginning, people came from other regions, not from Siberia itself. And if you are mentioning the
No, I mean
inside
Russia, when we speak about the colonization of Siberia, I mean Russian colonization.
Then it was later.
Yeah. So once more, which one was earlier?
The colonization.
Russia was it?
No, the American, but not critically.
Yes, not very big difference, but mostly in North America. This was just a bit earlier. Okay, if we speak about the lodging, so what is the equivalent of a Native American teepee? The Siberian equivalent? Yes, a chun, good. And for a Siberian yaranga, the North American equivalent is this very famous one also.
Wigwam?
Yes, a wigwam, exactly. Okay, so what is the belief in an animal ancestor called?
Animism?
No.
Totemism.
Yes, totemism. So this ancestor animal is a totem. And what is the belief in everything having a soul or being animated? Animism, yes. So are Siberian and Native American shamans called the same name?
Medicine.
Yeah, medicine man for North America, yes, and shamans for Siberians. Okay. What Siberian nation is among the best bone carvers?
Chukchi.
The Chukchi, yes. Okay. What animal or bird is the most common trickster in Native American and Siberian mythologies? Yes, raven. What animal is widely present both in Native American and Siberian mythologies and rituals? Right. And what do we call similarities in different mythologies in general? Yes. Parallel what?
Motives.
Yeah, motives. Parallel motives. Okay. Or the area which studies those parallel motives is called comparative mythology. So when we compare different mythologies and different myths.
Please remember the terms in your works.
So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I would like to answer them. No? Okay.